Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Inside the OC podcast. My name is Matt Canizaro, and ready for another exciting edition of our podcast dedicated entirely to the USBC Open Championships. I'm going to be flying solo today. Daniel Ferris has the day off, but I'm sure he's at home watching, making sure all my facts are correct as we roll through things with our guest for today. I don't want to have any delay in bringing him in. He's got some great stories, a long career. Here he is from upstate New York, four-time Eagle winner, Mike Rose Jr.
Matt, what's going on, buddy?
Michael, welcome to the show. It is always a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
And I asked you just a minute ago. It looks like you got yourself a COVID-19 mohawk, but you in fact just said it's just the age. Age has changed your appearance a little bit, but looking sharp as ever.
Trying to get the side view in here. Just maybe get a little bit gray is blending in somewhere behind me on the labels. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, the hair's still there, Matt. Just
there you go.
A little high in the front. It's still there.
You never know in these crazy times. And before we really get into talking about the OC, which is why we're here, let's talk about what's going on right now. You're at the local pro shop there. I see you've got your arsenal in the background. You are ready to compete.
I'm ready to go.
A hard worker in the bowling business, but tell us a little bit about life over the last couple of months for Mike Rose and family.
It's been a little strange, obviously. I mean, New York is a tough state right now because we had the most cases nationwide. So everything's been closed around here. It's slowly starting to open up, and unfortunately, the bowling business hasn't really opened up yet. I'm lucky enough to be in my good friend Chris Lamb, who I've known since we were little kids and bowled together, at his pro shop, Lightning Strikes, which is in New York. And you also know that Lightning Strikes is our companion team at the USBCs with team NABR. So Chris was gracious enough to host me today and have my arsenal behind me. But yeah, it's been tough. I mean, family life is good. The wife is still working quite a bit. It's a little slow at Ace Mitchell right now. Ace Mitchell obviously is one of the largest distributors in the country. Actually in the world. We're a little slow at the moment because everything, again, is opening up around the country and around the world. But hopefully we get back to some more normal times. But again, the wife's working, kids are doing good. Grayson, my youngest, is going to camp. And my oldest, he kind of gets a little tutelage in the summertime from Chris Lamb with a little bowling expertise to make him stronger for the Fairport bowling team. So in the upcoming fall season.
So Mike, not only are we longtime friends in real life, but also Facebook official, which I feel is that's like the standard now. So being able to follow you guys and the Rose family on social media, your wife Ruth, always globetrotting. She's always traveling somewhere, doing things and posting and just being relevant out there in the real world. But now she's been stuck at home with you for all this time. Talk about that. I wish we could have her on the show to talk a little bit about, just life with Mike. But how's that been?
Well, actually, I wish she wasn't on the show today because life with Mike probably would not go over very well on this show. I don't know how censored this show is, but I'm sure she'd have a few choice words for me. Yeah, my wife travels probably 24, 25 weeks a year for her work. She's a vice president at Sutherland Global, which is a outsourcing company. Her big customer is GoDaddy.com. So she travels a lot to different countries to visit their different sites. She's a hard worker. She's still a terrific mom, even though she travels so much, but she juggles everything really great. And I mean, I've just learned how to do everything between work and bowling and kids and home stuff while she's gone away. It's a tough battle. Half our neighbors have no idea how we do it, but we get it done. It works. But yeah, I would say Ruth would have a few choice words and probably couldn't wait to get away from me to go to someplace like Bulgaria or Colombia or someplace even farther away. Maybe the moon might be the next travel spot she might want to go to get away from me.
Well, we've heard from your teammate Adam Barta in the past. He was on one of our earlier episodes of our podcast, so he gave us some stories. But as far as recent months, oh yeah, What have you guys been up to stay busy, to stay sane, to just to maybe protect each other? And especially in the bowling wise, a family of bowlers. What have you guys done to keep the bowling sharp and fresh and front of mind?
Well, it's been really hard. I mean, for a while, I was able to go to one of my good friends' bowling centers when all this first started, and it wasn't everything wasn't shut down as much. So I got some time in there. My friend again, Chris Lamb, he helps me out with my game. So I was staying in shape for a little while there. But over the last few months, I really have not done a lot with bowling, unfortunately. I've been working out quite a bit. Ruth and I got into a steady workout routine. Heather Dorico, she has been helping us out with that. My wife's done unbelievable. She's lost a ton of weight. She looks fantastic. I haven't bulked up any, Matt. No Arnold Schwarzenegger stuff, but definitely in better shape. And I do swing the bowling ball downstairs in the basement once in a while, not throwing it into anything, but definitely trying to keep it fresh in my mind. And I really want to get back to tournament action because in the summertime around Western New York, there's tons of stuff to bowl in, Lilac, Wild Irish Rose, and a lot of other smaller tournaments for $1,000, $2,000 here and there. And unfortunately, this year they've all canceled, and I just haven't have a chance to do any of them.
Well, I was actually going to ask. You're looking pretty swole. I was going to see what you were doing, what the workout regimen was. I know there's a commercial, a progressive commercial, maybe with the sign spinning guy. Hey, do my forearms look bigger? And but glad to hear you guys are staying safe and staying busy, not getting hurt at all there. But
thank you.
Let's talk bowling. And
Yeah.
You come from an area. We had Brian O'Keefe on the show recently, and of course on our OC championship bracket that we're doing online, voting among some of the biggest performances and performers of all time. We had Mike Newman, also from the area, and
yes.
and your team at the OC over the years too, superstars from the Northeast, upstate New York. There, great players, and you have been in the bowling industry really all your life, and a lot of folks again don't know outside of the Open Championships where you have excelled on the way to 4 Eagles. We'll talk about those details. The first one coming in 2007, but that was already 15 years into your superstardom on the national stage. Tell us about that. Give us a little Mike Rose background. I know, again, a breeding ground for talent there in upstate New York. And then you did indeed give the PBA Tour a run, made a run at Rookie of the Year as well. So you know what you're doing out there on the lanes. It's not just a couple fluke performances, and you certainly don't get 4 Eagles by being in the right place at the right time, though. I think Barta and the guys might have a different story there, but tell us about Mike Rose beyond the OC before we get into all the great things you've done on the championship lanes.
Well, I mean, I started bowling really young. I mean, I started bowling when I was 4 years old out at Bronco Bowl in Honeoye Falls, New York, outside of Rochester. That's where I grew up. My mother worked there as a waitress. I really didn't bowl before that. When I was 4, though, I met this kid in kindergarten, and his name was Willie. Now, Willie was a very interesting kid because he peed his pants all the time in school. So everybody knew who Willie was, but I liked Willie.
But just to clarify, you are not Willie, right? Willie's a real person. You are not Willie.
No, I am not Willie.
Okay.
No, I am not Willie. Willie is a real person. But I figured I'd have a great relationship with all my stomach issues and bathroom issues I've had over the years. So I figured this was like a match made in heaven right away as a child. So I started bowling at Bronco with Willie on his team. And I think the first score I ever shot was 7. I don't know if that was very impressive, but it felt good. So I kept going there and practicing more and more and more. Tom Bronco, the owner, who has passed away, he let me practice there 7 days a week if I wanted to. So I would go in there and I'd bowl every day. I'd bowl probably 100 games a week. And I did this all the way up until I was probably 18 years old before I went away to college. I bowled a lot of Youth Bowlers Tour, which is really big in the Western New York area, still is. I went away to college, to Erie Community College for 2 years, and I bowled with some unbelievable guys up there. Brad Angelo, Warren Guernsey, Brian Eaton, Ray Sear, just a plethora of talent. And I also learned a lot of great tricks and ways to handle the lanes and how to bowl up there from guys like Mike Newman, Bob Uvari, who is also a Open champion. He helped me out a ton. But I mean, we bowled pot games all the time. Half the time, I think I missed college classes half the time because I was out bowling a pot game during the middle of the day. That was Mike Newman's fault, although we've seen where that's gotten him over the years. But then from there, I went to West Texas State for a little while. Unfortunately, my father got sick and I had to come home, and I never actually went back. And then I just bowled tournaments ever since I was 18. I joined the adult leagues, and we bowled tournaments all over Western New York every single weekend. I would average probably 30 or 40 tournaments a year, bowling any place I could. I don't care if it was for $200 or for $5,000. I would be there, and all the guys that I hung out with would go too. So it was like a big traveling caravan of of delinquents, I guess.
All right. See, we always learn stuff here on the Inside the OC podcast. All the things we don't really get to talk about in the interviews. And when you're taking the lead at the OC, especially in the team situation, there's so much going on. There's photos and interviews, and of course the next squad coming out. So we don't really get to dive into who you guys are and tell some of those stories. So that's some great background there. Certainly explains a lot as well. And now your OC debut came in 1991. It wasn't too far from where you live, so a short trip over to Toledo. And you had a great year. You had a great start at the OC, 2087 with a couple of 700s. So a very nice debut. And then next year was good. I mean, 1,800 plus, I think, is the target for most of our bowlers. You had a good performance there, 3 600s. Can't argue with that. And then you disappeared, right? So you disappeared. The PBA Tour came calling. The rules a little bit different back in the day. What was that experience like? What made that decision what it was at that time? I imagine time and place was good for you, but talk about going out there and chasing that dream.
I always wanted to go on the PBA Tour ever since I was a little kid. I mean, I would watch the Pro Bowlers Tour every weekend on Saturday at 3 o'clock on ABC, right before the Wide World of Sports. I'd bowl my junior league during the day, and then we would go in and make sure all the work was done on the lanes, and then go watch the tour. So I always wanted to go, and I had the opportunity to go out. I think it was 1993. So I took the opportunity, and I went out for a full year. Again, I thought I knew a lot about bowling by bowling in Buffalo and stuff. But what I learned out there was unbelievable. I mean, it's just, it was crazy. So it was a lot of fun. I had a great time. I met a ton of great people. I roomed out there with John Lacido, who was also from my area. I roomed with Mike Tontis, who his dad ran the bowling center in, I think it was Tucson, Arizona. And that was Pete Tontis, who was a professional, I think a PBA champion. And then I met the Scroggins brothers, and I roomed with Mark Scroggins, who actually beat me for Rookie of the Year that year. I roomed with Big Rick Miller out of Nebraska, who I became great friends with over the years. So I met a lot of great guys. That's where I met, Randy Peterson, George Branham, Butch Soper, Jason Couch, who works for our company now, who's always been a great friend, Dave Watka. These are all guys I met when I went out there. They took me in with open arms, and they really helped me out. The other guy that really helped me out there was Mike Miller. I was going through a bad stretch at the time, and Mike Miller took me aside, and he was a blast. He was hysterical. And besides telling me that he was having dreams of me being naked at night, which was always Mike's sense of humor, correct? He took me aside and he says, listen, he goes, you're staying underneath the ball too much. He goes, you need to get around it a little more if you're going to be out here. Lanes have been a little drier. let's get you around it. So he taught me how to get around it a little more. And then like the weeks following that, I think I went like cash, final, cash, cash. So the guys out there were wonderful. And I could never thank Mike enough. I haven't seen Mike in years, but that really helped out a lot. And it was a great experience. And I really learned a ton of information that I could take to the high rollers, the USBC championships, the Open championships. Yeah, it was just unbelievable. I loved it.
So at that point, you had success, things were going well, but then a different path was chosen. And then, you did not pursue that dream for very much longer. Talk about that decision. Of course, that's a big one too. Where did that take you at that point? Your return to the OC didn't come until 1999. So there's a pretty big window of time in there. And then those first 2 years back were less than Mike Rose like. So tell us what happened there in the mid to late 1990s in life and in bowling. And then you quickly got back on track, and then we'll have all the great things to talk about now.
Well, after that time of being on the PBA tour, I actually lost my sponsor the following year, and I only bowled maybe half the stops. So I lost my sponsor. He just decided to go in a different direction. He wasn't being mean or anything. He just said, I'm going to sponsor more golfers now. And, I couldn't blame him. And at the time, I wasn't a really big golfer, but I was like, it's a business decision. I understand. I mean, he was a great guy, and he really supported, he sponsored Doug Kent a little bit, Ken Moscato. He was from Canandaigua, New York, just outside of Rochester. So he helped me out a lot, but he just went in a different direction. So I said, I'm going to have to go in a different direction. So I went back to work. I ran a pizza parlor for a little while. And after that, I did some pro shop work and started bowling more tournaments again. But the problem was at the time, you had to take I think it was 3 to 5 years off from bowling local tournaments after you were I can't remember, Category 1 PBA member. I can't remember the status they had. But so I took some time off from bowling tournaments. But then when I came back, I really had an even bigger passion to bowl tournaments because I've been off for so long. So we were bowling the World Team Challenges, and Jane, who was working there at the time, and Jane, forgive me, I love you to death, but I forgot your last name. Because I know she got married. So Jane told us, why aren't you guys bowling the USBC tournament? And I said, geez, I don't know. I just never even think about it. She goes, it's a great place to go to. It's gigantic, tons of bowlers, tons of great bowlers. It's perfect for your team to go to. So we got our World Team Challenge team together, which was Mark McLean, Ken Moscato, Scott Turzo, Derek Hooper, Doug Kent was on it also. And we said, let's put a team into the USBCs. And we were Snapple Fire for years. And we started doing that, and I was having a lot of fun. And then after a while, we just started to kind of not grow apart because we were all really good friends, but we were kind of going little different directions. So I got together with Scott Pohl and Brian Wallachek, who we call Wally, and I said, let's put together a team. And they're like, okay, sounds great. I don't really have anything going on here, and I don't have anything going on there. I said, who else can we get? And they're like, well, let's call Barda. And I'm like, well, that's perfect. So we called Barda up, and he was having some issues with his team. And then another guy who is a great friend of mine and an unbelievable bowler is Rob Galchel. And we said, let's call up Robbie. So we got all this together. And then after that, we put together Team NABR and started really hitting it.
So we're definitely on the fast forward button here, but let's turn it back.
I did go a little ahead of myself, didn't I? Sorry, Matt.
There's a few cool things that happened along the way, but first, you didn't get to see it, but the way my face lit up when you talked about the pizza parlor days, I feel if I would have known Pizza Parlor Mike, we could have been best friends for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Shell's Pizzeria was unbelievable. It was fantastic pizza.
So, and then my other thought was it was Jane Thomas. She's married to fellow Eagle winner Greg Thomas, a double stamp at the OC. So
Love
She worked
Jane.
at the event for a long time. Well, while I was there for a couple of years as well, they ran registration and the Bowlers Journal and the whole deal. So big bowlers and big in the industry as well. So a lot of great names I'm sure we're going to drop today. You mentioned all your great teammates there. As you return to the Open Championships, a few good years and progressively better. And then it all fell into place one fine day in 2007 at the National Bowling Stadium. We were down on the low end of the center, so as far from the office as you possibly could get. A young man named Mike Rose was putting strikes up on the scoreboards at a feverish pace. And we have a photo from that day. We took it from the spot, we call it. The spot. There's no place like it in all of bowling. You get to see the grandeur of the National Bowling Stadium. And there you are. That is May of 2007. It looks like, just based on what we're looking at, like decades ago, but it was just right around the corner, really.
Hair was a lot darker there, Matt.
Well, Eagles will do that to you.
Gray.
There you go.
I think they do.
But that was a crazy time in your career, and you mentioned in talking to us that winning an Eagle would be the ultimate dream. It would be like the one thing that you ever wanted in bowling, pretty much. And on that day, 2198 was the score, and it was a great score. And we just had it was a wacky week at the OC. We had a doubles record shortly thereafter, but you got there, which is the number one thing. Of course, you can't win if you don't take the lead. You did that. And then the kind of a new experience for you to be that guy, to be in that spot, time-wise, before social media, before videos and Facebook and all that good stuff. So we always like to turn it back and hear what it was like in the olden days of taking the lead at the Open Championships when you had the online leaderboards, if anything, and people in town maybe to give you a call. But I guess first tell me about that day. I'm sure you remember vividly, but 787 in singles, big number, and enough to get into the top of the standings there. But the all events lead is what you did. And tell us about the moments and getting there, and then what followed as far as everything that came with it, and then the wait.
Yeah, so on the way to Reno, I was sitting with Scott Terzo on the plane, and I told him, we were talking, oh gosh, we want to win an Eagle. We want to win an Eagle. That would be the greatest thing ever if we can win an Eagle. And I said, I'm telling you, I feel like I'm close. I said, Scott, if I could just break 670 in a team event, I think I can win. So I think that year in 2007, I don't know, Matt, you might have it in front of you. I think I shot 677 in the team event. I don't know if I'm right with that.
It was 687. You were close, so you beat your 670 by a ton. You were there already.
Yes, I pummeled it. I was all over it. So I told him if I could shoot over 670, I think I have a great shot. So then we went into the doubles, and it was funny because there was these two guys that were bowling ahead of us. And Scott was having an absolute fit because both guys were throwing rubber balls down the middle of the lane. They had to be probably in their 70s and 80s. God bless them for still being out there. I mean, and they were taking forever. And we told the people behind us, we're like, listen, we don't want to get penalized because these guys are going to finish a half hour late. And I mean, they're just really slow. And the people are like, no problem. We're watching it. So Scott was panic stricken. And I'm like, Scott, we'll just roll with the punches. We'll just go with it. So we get on the lanes, we get our practice, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have got an unbelievable ball reaction. My ball would it would just go flush every time. It wasn't coming up light, it wasn't going high, it just kept going hook, stop, flush. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is unbelievable. And my carry was ridiculous. So I said, wow, this is unreal. So Ken Moscato, my doubles partner, was also bowling a really good all event set too. So I got through the doubles, and I don't even remember what I shot in doubles. 750 maybe, Matt? Was I right? 760?
724. So you had some work to do in singles.
Okay, so I had some work to do in singles. So we switched pairs, and I'm like, okay. First couple frames, I think I started off with a couple trip fours. Made a couple adjustments. same thing started to happen. The ball would just go hook, stop, flush, and the 10 just kept snapping out, and all the pins kept going straight back. And I just felt like I had the entire world. Scott was standing behind me the whole time, keeping me really, really quiet, really patient. I was super, super laser focused. I wouldn't take my eyes off the pair. I kept watching everybody that was on the pair with me and what their ball was doing. And then the next thing I know, I have 787 and it's over with. And I'm sitting in the settee area, and I think I started to cry because I couldn't believe what I had just done, because I had only dreamt of doing it and I wanted to do it, but it actually happened. And I remember Scott coming over and patting me on the back, and he was like, "This is unbelievable. You took the lead." And I'm like, I can't believe it. I said, I just can't believe this just happened. So it was almost mentally and physically draining. I felt like I had no energy left until probably afterwards, when I probably drank a 12-pack of beer after we left the place. So, yeah, it was incredible. I've never felt anything like it. I've never felt so laser focused on what I was doing, and knowing what I was doing was completely right the entire time. So, yeah, incredible.
Well, you made it through. Again, that was early May, so you had to make it until July. And again, it was a good score, of course. 2198 was the number. And what was the wait like, and who kept you posted, and how did things go? And how tough was it not to be looking at the scoreboard all day long?
That was painful. That was really, really painful. So I kept going to the USBC website, which I think was it still bowl.com back then, the website?
Yeah, Pohl.com. Everything pretty much the
Yeah.
same, but the updates coming, probably hours after you really wanted to see them too. But it was there.
So you guys always had that little teeny column on the right side, and it had the top 10 or the top 5, I think it was, of every event. So every day, every morning, every night, I would go on and I would look on that to see if someone had gotten close to me. And every time I heard a good player was bowling, I would tune in to watch too, or just track their scores or whatever I had to do, because I know they weren't videoing the people at the time. But I remember one of my biggest fears was Bill Hoffman, because I think he started out with an 800 that year. And I was absolutely panic stricken because Billy was such a great bowler. And I'm like, this is like going to be a free for all for him. He just shot 800 in the team event, which is usually the hardest thing to shoot a big score. And he's going into doubles and singles, which he should be able to absolutely maul. And I couldn't take my eyes at that. Was the most worried I was the entire time, was when Billy bowled. I followed every single frame that I could see pop up. I was going nuts. I was crazy, out of my mind. Not like unusually out of my mind, but
nobody realized at the time that you're still a decade away from even knowing what score tracking was all about. Nothing like Rain Man Adam Barta. But you got it done. You got there. And I know we talked while you were still in town about the possibilities. You didn't want to jinx it, of course. You may not remember this conversation at all, but the idea of being a defending champion at the OC, there's some fanfare and things that come with it as well. The big introduction coming down center aisle before your team event, and you're definitely one of the most energetic guys that we have out there, and you can put on a show. And you talked about, what would that moment be like, that curtain opening moment when you're introduced as a champion for the first time? You said, man, if I could win this thing. Do you remember maybe what you said you would do if you could be that guy coming out of the curtain?
Well, I don't remember quite what I said. I know I didn't say I'd run around naked through the bowling center or anything like that, which is probably something I would normally say. But I think I ran out, and I think, was it Mindy with me? And I threw my arms up in the air like this.
Yeah,
I remember correctly.
There initially was some talk of glitter and confetti and feather boas and just all kinds of crazy costumes and things just to make it memorable, and we toned it down a little bit for the family audience there in Albuquerque. But man, to finally get that phone call, and we'll talk about coming back the next year. That's a whole nother thing. But to get the phone call, to hear that it was official, you were the champion. Talk about the relief. And then the months that followed, because immediately, you're in that moment. Maybe it doesn't click at that time. Maybe it comes when you get the Eagle. Maybe it comes for you when you're introduced the next year. But the relief of the phone call and then the months that followed, as you knew at some point you're going to have to put that title on the line as well.
Yeah, the relief was I couldn't believe it when I got the phone call. I mean, that was one of the best days of my life. Just to hear them say you had won, I think I started to cry again. Obviously, by now I'm a crier. So the relief, I just don't know what to say. I mean, I was in tears when they called me up to tell me that I had won. I waited for months and months and months for that, and yeah, it was one of the best feelings of my life. I mean, besides having my children and marrying my wife, I think that's the top feeling there ever.
All right, well, you came back the next year, and this story gets even better for us as bowling fans and historians at the OC. No player in tournament history had ever won back-to-back all events titles. Just all that comes with it is such a monumental task to be able to win 2 in a row. And you came back the next year. You bowled well. You came out 730, 731 in the team event. So a great start. And it came down to your final frames, and your telling of this story is going to be way different than those of us who were watching. But you got down to singles. We knew the numbers. Of course, that's what we do. You're a numbers guy, I believe, so you probably had some idea of what it was going to take. But you needed strike 9 spare in your final frame to get into the lead. The unfathomable, potentially back-to-back all events titles, never been done, and you were on your way to being that guy. But you had I don't want to use profanity here, but I certainly could. But what you had to do to step up at that point, the lanes were scorched. You were standing in front of the ball return. We're 9 games into your title defense now. The place is quiet. Everybody's getting done, getting ready for the next squad to start in a few minutes after they get the lanes ready. All eyes are on you because everybody knows in the place what's happening, that you're this close to the lead. Strike 9 spare will get it. Front of the ball return, and it was almost angelic the way that at the time it was the vapor zone for you, I believe, was delivered. So like high into the air, onto the lane, and you got the job done. Strike 9 spare, you take the lead by a single pin. The energy in the moment and just where you're playing on the lane, just unbelievable. All of those things. That's the micros that I'll probably remember years and years and years from now, not what happened the year before and the celebration and all that, but talk about 2008, because that performance was unreal.
So 2008, when I bowled the team event, I still remember this now because obviously I didn't hold on to it, but in the team event, I had not made a specific move in a 10th frame. And even though I had 730 something, I think you said, I had Greek churched in the 10th frame. So thinking back, that came back to haunt me later on. But going into the doubles and singles the next day, I told Scott, I said, well, this is a good start. I think I have a good chance of maybe repeating something. And then I throw my first ball in doubles and singles, and I look at Scott and I go, no, I don't have a chance at this. I'm in trouble. So he starts laughing, and I go, the lanes are scorched. They're fried. So I just make this gigantic move inside, and I think I was playing like between 5th and 6th arrow. And suddenly I started to find the pocket again, and the ball started shipping up, and I was tripping 4s, and I had some good things going for me. So I'm like, well, maybe this is a possibility. So then when I got to the singles, they were actually worse. So the ball was hooking even more. So I said, geez, I'm going to have to move even deeper. So I moved deeper, and the ball started shimming up again. And I was tripping some 4s and getting some good breaks there. And I'm like, wow, now I really think I might have a chance for this, because I'm comfortable playing here, because we used to play there all the time when I lived in Buffalo. And, you bowl tournaments all the time, and you have to play there a lot, especially around the Western New York area. So I just tried to stay with it, tried to keep my head, into the whole thing, watching everybody's ball again every time they let it go. to see whether I have to move or stay in the same spot. And I got to the 10th frame of the singles, and I knew what I needed to do. And I told Scott, I said, I have to move again. And he's like, just do it. And I said, I have to, because I'm going to go high. So I moved like another 3 and 2 left, and I just launched it down the lane, and it faded back and it went dead flush, and I got the strike. So looking back, I'm like, gosh, I thought I had to move again. And I said, I can't move again on this because I need 9 spare. So I threw it down lane. I lofted it way down the lane. I put everything I had into it, and I 4-pinned. And I'm like, okay, that's okay. So I walked up, picked the spare, and once again, I just sat down, and I felt like someone punched me in the stomach, and all the wind was sucked out of me. I had nothing left on that one. I mean, that was a tough one, playing that deep for 6 games in a row.
That one I definitely can feel for you, because I was exhausted just watching and kind of seeing seeing it all shake out. It was just unbelievable to watch. And again, if we had video back then, potentially that bowling ball could have become the best-selling ball of all time, and you would have had your name on it and your face on it and the whole thing. And it was awesome. And then you were in position. I mean, you left in the lead, positioned to win back-to-back titles. Again, unfathomable, at least in the history of the OC at the time. And then within a couple weeks, you actually got passed twice. Ended up finishing 3rd overall. And one of the gentlemen who did go around you, he had a wacky story as well. He actually showed up in Albuquerque at the wrong week. He was a week ahead of schedule. And so he went home, and then he rearranged his work schedule. He came back. He was able to bowl some Bowlers Journal squads. He ended up winning singles. He shot 832 in singles. And it just, that story was phenomenal as well. You know, he potentially
which was,
couldn't
I
have
think,
come back.
his highest score ever, right? By far, by 200 pins possibly.
It was just the way things shake out sometimes. You know, the storylines that we get at the OC, but your performance that day, among the best that I certainly ever will remember at the Open Championships, even though it ended up in a 3rd place finish. But man, it really solidified, I think, your place at the event. And now we've passed another 12 years. Can you believe it? We're now in 2020. You've got 20 years logged at the Open Championships. That was 3 Eagles ago. That was just the first one. Yeah, certainly. The time I feel like I feel youthful, and I still, this job keeps me young, certainly, and all of you guys as well. But the things you've accomplished since, you were not able to do alone, and you bowled well in the year since at the OC. Had a 2200 in 2011, and you already mentioned the team NABR and how that team came to be. Just a couple of ragamuffin bowlers just looking for guys to bowl with, put together. And if it was even possible to upgrade from the talented team that you had before, you found this group of guys who I still will put up against any team at the OC in probably in decades, just as far as the talent level and what you guys have accomplished, which is pretty awesome. But it's such a family, and we had Adam Barta on to talk about that and what it means. And you guys did something, and we have a clip we'll have in a minute here. But the couple of years, as you were all getting comfortable bowling together at the Open Championships and really coming together, 2013, 14, it all really fell into place in 2015 in El Paso, and that's the one that I think a lot of folks will remember, not for what you guys did in the middle of the lineup, but for what Rob Gottschall did as the anchor player. But we have to remind him that for him to be able to have the opportunity to do what he did, which was double in the 10th frame, you and Brian Wallachek had to do the same thing. And so this is where that chemistry and the support and the communication came in. Adam Barta was lead off. Scott Pohl was in the 2-hole, and he unfortunately he left a baby split, I believe, and was not able to convert that. So you guys needed to step up, and both of you and Wallachek doubled in the 10th to give Rob a chance. Potentially one of the most energetic moments on Bowl TV on the live stream. Let's first take a look, and then let's hear about that from your perspective. I haven't been all in the middle of it. So this is the El Paso Convention Center.
Low power.
And you see there, Brian Walczak must have double
Right, so
to get you guys
1189, the max
to get you guys
so get the max score here.
in contention. And now you and
By
Rob
our
Godshaw
unofficial
getting the job done.
calculations, of course. Rose and Godshaw both working on 3 in a row. No room for error.
Gets the late trip of the 9. These guys know what's at stake right now.
Aaron, this is a key moment in the 2015 Open Championships. There's no time to be talking about stake.
Focus, Matt. Focus.
So again, Mike, you have a very talented companion team, which you've mentioned, and 10 guys working together, communicating throughout these 3 games. Very, very important. And then for you guys
the big shots
holding each other up the way that you do.
Took the lead the year after. With
again, a must-have for you in this position once again in your career, and you delivered
here and ready to deliver here. Second shot in the 10th frame for Mike Rose.
Needs to have it. What a shot.
I'll tell you, the first one, Matt, is the one that made me most
Mike
nervous.
R all day, every day.
Because I had to make a
Mondays.
move on the first shot, and I was afraid I was going to leave like a 9-pin, and I almost did.
Scenarios up.
So then I moved again on the second
shot,
and I actually went dead flush.
Finish this game off and take.
It was a blessing. I kind of tripped that 9 out the frame before.
The team lead from Team NABR.
All right, so we'll watch your final shot here, then we'll talk a little bit.
For your team and delivering 3 in the 10th is being the anchor bowler to do so. One of the key moments that comes to mind, of course, is back in 2013, John Janowitz doing it to break the record and take home a team title. And now it's on Rob Godshaw. A double here. And here's the man.
All right, so there you are. You're the in the 4-hole there and doing your job. That's all you can do is set up the anchor guy. You mentioned what talented player Rob was, and there's a reason you end up in that position. And as the captain, and this is something that you guys, I'm sure, discuss as a team, and who feels comfortable where and who fits best. And we know the history of it. Rob went on to get a double, and you guys get into the lead, big number, and you go on to win. Now, you finally had the opportunity to share that winning feeling and the whole experience with your teammates. At that point, only your name had the orange eagle next to it on the scoreboard. And something now that you get to take with the rest of your teammates. Tell us about that and how this one was different than the first one in 2007.
This one was a little different because obviously I got to share it with 4 other people. I kept telling those guys when we got together that one thing I want you guys to experience is the same thing I got to experience in 2007. And I would love for you guys to all have an eagle. And I said, and that's why we put this team together, so that we could really have a legitimate shot at maybe getting 1 or 2 or 3 or whoever knows. But 1 would be just the goal, to get 1 as a team. So I was extremely happy for all those guys to, again, feel the same thing I got to feel in 2007. I mean, we had such a great time that week. El Paso was so great. I mean, after we got done, we went to the ballpark and we had some beers, and Adam got to throw out the first pitch. The whole experience down there, El Paso was wonderful. I mean, I know a lot of people at the time didn't want to go, but we had a great time down there, great experience. The people were some of the nicest people I've ever met in the country. And I think that whole experience of everybody being so nice and the accommodations being so nice, that it put us all in a good mood to have a shot to win. And we all came together there, and we did what we had to do in the 10th frame. And then they all got to experience what I got to experience in 2007. So it was great.
I feel like 2015 was just timid compared to what Adam Barta put us through in 2017 when you guys were leading the team event and team all events. I don't even remember really hearing much from Adam as you guys were waiting to find out if you won that year. Maybe I don't know. Maybe the excitement of winning once made the next time even more special and important. But before we move on too much and talk about 2017, We want to bring in one of those teammates, the longtime teammate, the longest of the bunch, to talk about sharing that experience with you and being a part of NABR and kind of what it means to be now part of tournament history forever together as now 3-time Eagle winners as teammates. And here he is coming in. Scott Pohl is coming from Minnesota in between lessons. We knew we were going to get some stories from you, but we wanted to hear Scott's take a little bit on life with Mike Rose before he has to go and do his next lesson. So,
hey, how you guys doing?
Welcome.
No, I don't even know if I don't know if I want to hear this.
Oh, well, hey, it's all right. It's all good.
So Scott is a big performer, doubles partner of Mike Rose, longtime Team USA member, and kind of the quiet guy of the bunch. But when you get going, I think you're that guy with the one-liners and the stories, and you kind of keep things light behind the scenes. But we've been talking about Mike Rose's rise to celebrity status at the OC. We just got done recapping 2015 when he had the opportunity to share the Eagle winning experience with you guys as a team and how much that meant to you and to him. Can you talk about that from your perspective and just getting there and then holding on to win that first one?
Yeah, that was that was a special year, of course. I got to be honest, it was nerve-wracking as all could be for me because I bowled not very well in the team event, and it would have been really tough to take if those strikes wouldn't have happened at the end. So El Paso probably would have had some damage to their community otherwise. But it was awesome to win that event and to win with really good friends and people that we've known for a long time. You can't say anything about that. That's just unbelievable.
Yeah. Now, Scott, one of the big moments of your career was with Team USA in 2006. Part of the World Championship, breaking a streak of 35 years between team titles at the World Championships. Big moment for you, for Team USA, and then the Eagle coming just a few years later. I know that's probably hard to compare those two things, but is it a similar feeling? And can you even describe or can you compare what each one meant to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Just gives me goosebumps kind of thinking about those. It's very similar. Team USA, we had a lot of great players and friends together again. We came together through the amateur ranks at that time. There was no professionals on the team. And then with NABR, it's the same way. A lot of friends. We've known each other for a long time. We kind of sweated through a couple of years that weren't really great. I think Mike would agree with me. Our previous performances weren't that great prior to El Paso, and it took a little while for our team to gel, but yeah, once we got it going, it was unbelievable to win together.
Well, now that team has continued to excel and succeed and be in the mix, regardless of the year. I know if you don't take the lead, it's kind of a little bit of a letdown, but you guys came together once again in 2017, and this is the emotional one. This is when things just get a little bit different. It's different than just camaraderie and winning. And we talked about this with Adam and heard his perspective on it. But going into the 2017 event, of course, hopes are high. You guys have expectations after the success that you've had. And then real life kind of takes the front seat there and puts bowling on the back burner a little bit, not to use as many cliches in one sentence as possible. But going into that 2017 event, life changed a little bit for you and certainly changed the perspective on being at the OC and what it meant to be teammates and friends. Mike, maybe you can kind of tell us about that time in your life. Of course, you love the OC, you love South Point, you love Las Vegas, you love Team NABR and being with those guys for those few days each year. But it was a little bit different in 2017.
Yeah, this is one where you and I talked about where you get the good ratings off of this. This is a little harder for me to talk about. This is my sister Shelly passed away from brain cancer when I was out there. So this was a really tough one. And she passed away before we even started to bowl. I was rooming with Scott. We always room together. And I got the news late at night, early morning, basically in Vegas. And I can't say enough about my teammates helping me get through it when I was out there. I mean, Pohl was great. Everybody was just wonderful. I can never say enough about Scotty. I mean, we'll get to some other stories with him helping me out, but that was amazing. And we bowled and we did what we had to do. Unfortunately, I mean, I didn't put up a big score for that one. I think I only had like 602 or 604. I got home. My father had told me, he goes, I don't even know how you shot 600. But as soon as we took the lead, I mean, we were all happy. It was great. And then as soon as we were done, Scotty grabbed me and he drove me as fast as he could to the airport. And I flew home to get to my sister's funeral on the weekend. So it was a really tough one. I mean, really, really tough. And I can't say enough about even the staff at the Open Championships, how nice they were to me. They gave me a card before I even left. I'll never forget that. I mean, that meant the world to me that you guys actually took the time out of your busy schedule to even think of me like that. But and I'll never forget again what Scott did for me. Like he just basically, he's like, let's go, we're going. Grabbed my balls. We went downstairs and we just took off. He's like, I got to get Rose to the airport, and he drove me there, like I said, as fast as he could. And my wife had booked me a flight home, and then we just played the waiting game a little bit.
Now, for the OC, of course, you get one shot a year. The guys have to come from all over the country, come together. And again, expectations high for Team NABR after the victory, trying to get some more. But in that moment, that's a big conversation, a big decision for you guys to have as a team. You know what to do. Does Mike bowl? Does Mike not bowl? Do you postpone? Do you come back another time? You also had a new teammate that year. Rob Gottschall had moved on. Anthony Pepe was in as your left-hander coming in and kind of shaking things up a little bit from the left side. But Scott, on that day, in that moment, what kind of conversations did you guys have about, what to do, how to do it, and then to go out and perform the way that you did, for Mike, for his sister? Wow.
Yeah. I remember talking with some teammates, and, there was, of course, we had to grieve a little bit with Mike, but, the job was still to bowl, and a lot of people count on us. We count on ourselves. We treat bowling like it is kind of our profession, so to speak. So things happen like that. And I just remember talking with Brian Wallachek for one thing, and we just said, we're going to try and stay with Mike and support him, and keep his mind off it as much as possible. That was what we did. So we just kind of stayed in that moment of, we had a team practice the night before, I believe, and we just we met together for breakfast, lunch, late lunch, got ready to bowl. We just kept him in that moment, and we tried to treat it just like as another year as much as possible. It sounds cliche, but that's what we did. We really we tried to just treat it like it was another year, another preparation, and this is what we're going to do.
All right, now, again, Mike mentioned that as soon as bowling was over, quick photos and off to the airport. And, of course, some things needed to happen. It doesn't end there. It doesn't end with the team event. You guys got the lead, which also would have meant a nice head start for team all events. But there's still 6 more games the next day. You guys are doubles partners and scheduled to bowl. Of course, able to work it out where you could focus on family stuff and come back at a later time. So the rest of the guys went out there and they bowled the next day for doubles singles. They bowled phenomenally. They really stepped up, and their intention was that they were going to set the bar so high with their efforts that once you guys were able to come back, you didn't have that much hard work to do to get to the number. They really, really wanted this for you, for the team, for your sister, and they got it done. But it was still, it was a little ways away before things settled down and you were able to focus again on bowling and making a run at team all events. But talk about that decision, how you guys worked all that out that you're able to come back, and then how you mentally prepare in that time, knowing what you need to shoot collectively to get to that team all events number at the time, and then go out and do it.
Yeah, after Mike went off to the airport and we said our goodbyes. As a team, we just talked about, hey, we're going to do this for Rose. We're going to do this for him and his family. We're going to do this thing. That was just the mindset, 100% with our sponsor, everything. He was in our mind. And I do have to throw in there, please. Can I throw in that I was high on team this time as opposed to low? I just want to throw that in. Thank you. Appreciate that. But,
I was low.
That's understandable, but I just wanted to point out that I redeemed myself. But anyhow, no, getting back to it. So we just woke up that next day with, a purpose, and I guess and see what I can see on the lanes and help them and get them through getting a big number out there.
Scott, you got to take that information away from the OC. You headed home, and I'm certain that you guys talked quite a bit about what happened, what you saw. We actually had some video of Adam that year. He bowled very well during doubles and singles. So how do you prepare at that point? I mean, again, you knew the numbers, you knew what it was going to take, you knew what you needed to do, but that's way different than going out there and doing it and knowing how much it all means. You already had the team lead. You were sweating that out. And then you talk about coming back, Mike, and how Scott helped prepare you for those arguably some of the biggest games of your career.
I'll go first. We basically went through a bunch of scenarios.
Go ahead, Scotty.
Okay, I'll just talk real quick, then you can. We just went through a bunch of scenarios because we weren't sure who we were going to really bowl with and how they played the lanes, which is key, as far as how the lanes break down. And we went in with a big open mind and basically bowling balls to attack as many situations as we could come up with.
Hey, Mike, from your side,
Scotty was in. Scotty was in constant contact with me all the time. He was even sending me, some messages about how the guys were doing and what they were shooting. And then obviously him and I talked nonstop in between when we went back on what we were going to do for balls, where it looked like we should play the lanes, what we might do with different people, since we were bowling with people that we did not know, and we didn't know who we were bowling with. We could have bowled with anybody. So we just prepared, like Scott said, for every scenario. And we drilled up a bunch of different balls. And we went back out and we just said, you know what, we're going to do the best we can with what we got. And that's what we did. We, like you said, Matt, we just kind of got the job done. It wasn't anything spectacular, especially on my part. I really didn't do anything great. But Scott and I just kept saying, let's just hang in there. All we got to do is get this. We just got to get to this. And that's what we did.
All right, now you did. You got there, which is all you can do. And then the wait was on just a few more weeks before the tournament ended. And we'll talk in a minute about how crazy it got with Adam keeping score and tracking things. And I know Scott has to get off to go shape the future of our sport. So we'll get some final thoughts here, Scott, about those second and third wins for you guys and how much it meant. Of course, the first one's always incredibly special, but these ones had a little bit different tone to them. Can you talk about that before you head out and just what it meant to hold on and win not only team event, but team all events as well?
Matt, I apologize for our teammate. If we could have, kept him away from his phone and messaging you every hour on the hour about scores and when to go Facebook Live when we were bowling, Barta, you need to calm down. I know that's impossible, but anyhow, it was a long wait. It's always fun. We had to do that a couple years prior, so we kind of knew the process. Technology these days is a lot different than when Mike won his all events, which is kind of a blessing and a curse. But it was, we thought our all events, team all events, was a really good number, and it turned out that I can't remember the exact number. Was it 47 pins? I think we won by, or something like that, maybe less than that, which comes down to just a couple of good frames. It's unbelievable. And then actually it was very nerve-wracking. The last night, the last team event, we had to wait until the 10th frame for a team to possibly not even beat us. So that was emotional. We kind of knew our all events was pretty much in for us, but it's fun. It's a fun process to really look at. That's where you want to be. We enjoy it together. We have a lot of group chats, and as long as we keep Barta in check, things happen well.
All right. Well, Scott, thank you for joining us today and saying hi to Mike and sharing some of the stories from your side. And kind of what it all means. And a 3-time Eagle winner. That's got to sound pretty sweet before you head out and take that to the next lesson. And wow, 3 times.
It does. And we're looking forward to going for 4, hopefully in October, or more.
There you go. Well, thank
Nice.
you. We look forward to it. And we'll keep talking with Mike here a little bit, and we'll get some additional stories as well. But thank you, Mike and Scott. And we'll see you soon, Scott.
Hey, thanks
we'll
for
roll
having
on
me.
here.
See you, Pohl.
Take care. Have a good one.
See you, Pohl.
All
See you,
right,
bud.
Mike, there's a nice little surprise for you, and some reminiscing. What a great story. I mean, it's not, unfortunately,
Scotty.
the circumstances, but I mean, just the story makes it so special for you guys. And I think that's part of what motivated Barter so much. And we joke, but the passion that he has for the team and for bowling and for winning, certainly it was amazing. And he wanted that for you guys more than anything. Checking in with us pretty much by the squad. It was constant. Maybe so that you didn't have to worry about it so much, so that you could work on life and things and getting things in order. But really looking at that team score, I don't think many people thought 32-66 was enough to get it done when he left. And then, 10,000 is kind of the bar in team all events now. And you guys were at 99-57. So 2 numbers that were kind of borderline, but it happened. It got there. It was enough. Maybe it was some divine intervention, perhaps, that made it all happen for you. But I think those numbers, you had to be stressed a little bit more walking out and watching the rest of the folks come in and come through. But what a wait. And tell us about that. And then to finally, again, to get the call and find out that not only 1, but 2 more Eagles coming your way. And you are now a 4-time champion in the very emotional 2017. Tell us about that.
So yeah, that wait was obviously brutal again, because there was so many good teams gunning for that score, and they were getting very, very close. I know one of our local teams with Chris Bartle and Doug Kent and Jacob Kent, they gave it a great run at our team all event score, and then Higgy's Aquarium. With all those great guys and great bowlers on that team, they made an unbelievable run at singles. I mean, that score was gigantic. I couldn't believe my eyes. I was mowing the lawn, and I had to jump off the lawn tractor and go sit down in a small area in my house and be by myself, because I was panic stricken. But yeah, we thought the team event, we're like, oh, that's not going to last. Wally always says, oh, that's third, maybe fifth. And then the team all events were like, we might have a shot with that. They're pretty tough all the way around. But then as it kept going on, we're like, wait a minute, nobody's even getting close to the team event. How's that possible? This is a score we thought we'd get beat by 50, 60 pins. And the score that we thought we were going to be good at, everybody's getting very, very close to. So that made it even more stressful, on top of having Adam, who I thought I was going to have committed during this time to some a psychiatric ward, or maybe put him in the hospital, because I was afraid he was going to have a heart attack, because he was only sleeping 2 or 3 hours a night. And, God knows Adam's not in the greatest shape of his life all the time. So sorry, Adam, about that one. I'm sure you're listening. But yeah, I was panicked for Adam. He's like, Mike, I'm sleeping 2-3 hours a night. I'm like, dude, you got to stop that. I said, you're going to get sick. He's like, I can't help it. I can't stop watching. I'm panic stricken. Someone's going to beat us. I'm like, just relax. If someone beats us, they beat us. But you got to sleep. But he kept doing it the whole way through. I mean, I went to a tournament with him one time, and he looked absolutely terrible. I just could not stop laughing. And he was looking at his phone the whole time he was bowling this tournament. I was like, you got to stop. You got to stop. But I love him anyways. I mean, Adam's so wonderful, and he does have such a passion for bowling. I really like having that. He was doing that on our team, because Wally was not looking at all. Wally was like, nope, not looking. Nope, not looking. And every time Barta would say something, Wally would be like, don't care, watching TV, having a drink. So, yeah, we always have this huge thread going on with our team that can get pretty out of control once in a while.
And it really does perfectly illustrate the 5 team members and how different you guys are. And you're doing a great job of that. It really is true. And everybody has a role and kind of a take or a mood to the whole thing. And that you nailed it right there. But you guys work so well together. You have so much fun on and off the lanes. It's also, with the support of Pete Barta, of course, and the whole Barta family and all your families. And, especially coming back the next year in Syracuse, it was close enough for all of them to drive out. The double trophy presentation, I think, was pretty memorable as well. Those are already pretty sizable trophies. The moment is huge as well. And just to be a part of that, see all the family members and the kids and just everybody, at that moment, I think that's when it really becomes real for a lot of the players. And you guys had some emotions in that moment because, again, just thinking back to 2017 and what it meant, and that was kind of the completion of a journey for you, for your sister, for everybody. Describe that, and then having to turn around and bowl the team event and bowl for the team all events right away. Just so much emotion, but at the same time, just something that you guys will share forever.
Well, it made it even worse that I decided to stab my thumb on Mother's Day with a huge knife. So I had a cast on my left hand before I had to bowl. But yeah, when we came out there to get the trophies during the presentation and seeing all my family and friends from around Syracuse and Rochester and Buffalo, having my kids there, my wife there, and knowing that my sister had passed away during that, it made it extra special. And I had a lot of emotion. I couldn't even speak. They wanted all of us to say something, and I couldn't say anything. So we let Adam talk for us, and he said it all very well. And during the whole time, we always had hashtag Shelly's watching, hashtag Shelly's watching. And we all really believe she was watching, and we believe that she helped us hang on to win both those. So that night getting a double trophy presentation was extra special and very meaningful. And it was sad at the same time. Brought a lot of emotion up, but with my teammates, myself, and obviously my parents. So,
and now that was Eagles number 3, number 4 for you. And that's right around the time the Hall of Fame conversation starts to happen. You now got your 20 years in at the Open Championships, which is another requirement. You're minutes away from being eligible for the PBA 50 Tour. So you're getting to that point in your career where that's a real conversation. And now, when we first talked in 2007, even prior to you guys taking the lanes, neither one of us could have known that we'd be having this talk all these years later, talking about the potential Hall of Fame. But can you tell us, if that conversation has been kicked around, I'm sure it has, and what that would mean to you and what it means to be a 4-time champion at the OC and just what the OC means in general?
Well, the conversation always seems to get brought up by the same person, which is you, Matt, for the Hall of Fame, which probably one of the main reasons why I love you so much. So, that would be a lifetime goal to be put into the USBC Hall of Fame on performance. I don't know what else would be bigger in my bowling career than that. I do have 20 years in now. I know Bill Spigner has been telling me I should get a resume ready for it. I know you have said something to me. Your lovely wife-to-be has said something to me about it. So this is something I definitely want to get together and pursue, and I'll probably actually need your help, Matt, to be honest with you on that one. But to be a 4-time champion is just a dream come true. Obviously, I want to win more. I want to be in that upper echelon of having maybe 5 or 6 or 7 or, Nelson Burton Jr. has got 9, I think, which is unbelievable. But if I could get a few more in before my hair turns totally white or falls out, that would be really, really good. The PBA Tour, the PBA 50 Tour, sounds like fun. My wife said I should try some stops when I reach that golden age, I guess. So I'll probably try to something like that. I don't want to jeopardize anything for my team, though. So if something happens where I'd have to get a card or something and it would jeopardize our guys together, I would probably hold off on that for a while. So, but yeah, just to be the Open Championship means the world to me. It's my favorite tournament to bowl in every year. I can't wait to get there, and it's tough that it's only, one time a year you get to bowl it. But it definitely is my favorite tournament, and it would be my favorite tournament to go to even if I hadn't won.
Now, your wife actually is or was a really good bowler as well. She was a collegiate standout too. I mean, she probably could take your place on Team NABR. They'd probably be glad to have her if you wanted to go chase your PBA 50 dreams, right?
I think we could put Ruthie in there. She'd be much nicer to look at than I am on the team, and I'm sure she'd have just as much fun with everybody else because they all know her for so long and they love her to death. But I mean, a little less rev rate than me, although my rev rate is decreasing on a yearly basis. So I'll probably be wherever Ruth's at shortly. So yeah, I think Ruth could come in very easily.
Now, with all the children between you guys, all your teammates, any talk of a NABR junior to be in the companion team at some point? That'd be pretty awesome. I think to bowl with your kids and Adam kids and just have everybody out there and make it a family thing, especially maybe once the eagle chasing days are behind you.
That would be cool. I would love to bowl with my boys. Gabriel's my oldest. He's 16. So he would be my best shot. I'll be 112 by the time Grayson gets the bowl because he's only 7. But yeah, that would be a dream come true to have our boys. It'd be great if like the Barta boys. But I mean, by the time we get to bowl with our kids, Barta might have 2 teams the way he's going with his children. So
keep winning Eagles, he's going to keep having kids. I think there's a correlation.
I think there may be. Every time Marcy is invited to any place we have to bowl for the USBCs, there's a kid the next year. So I know, Marcy, if you want to keep having kids, keep coming to the Open Championships. I think you'll have a companion team soon.
All right. Well, Eagle babies aside, I really enjoyed this conversation, catching up, talking about all of the great days and the emotions. And I know you're a great champion and ambassador for the sport and for the OC. And I hope the Hall of Fame does come knocking at some point again, as you continue to build that resume for you and all your teammates. And definitely don't be done winning the Eagles. It's really fun to tell all of these stories. And as we get ready for the world to open back up, Mike Rose Jr., any final thoughts as we get ready to head out for the day?
No, I mean, I want the world to get back to normal as well. I can't wait for everything to get back to the way it was. Some people say it may never get back to the way it was. I have faith. I think it will. And I absolutely want bowling to get back to the way it was because it's something I love so much and I loved it my whole life, and I don't ever want to stop doing it. So I don't want to, see anything happen to it. So I hope everything goes back to the way it was. While I have the chance, I want to thank, like I said, Storm for sponsoring me all these years now, and I want to thank our companion team, Lightning Strikes, and Chris Lamb, who drills all my balls. And Turbo, Lori Mraz, who is the wife of my boss, Jeff. She's always taking care of me, and she's a dear, dear friend. So I can't say enough, Matt. Thank you very much for having me. You and I have known each other for a long time. I know we like to bust each other's chops a lot. I know we kept that to a very decent level on this show. Normally what we say to each other, but yeah, thank you for having me. And I will do any show you want anytime, even if it's a strip show. I'll strip for you, Matt, if you want me to. It's totally up to you. I know it's probably out of your realm, but I'm ready.
Well, I'll tell you what. I think on one of the PWBA shows, Kelly Kulik offered a pizza challenge, and now this. We're setting up one really fun evening. So you never know. We might take you up on all of these offers. But before we go today, we have one more dip into the archives. This one goes back to the result of your 2007 All Events title. You got to be on the Clash of Champions there. Pete Weber's behind you. but a fun event that brought in all of our champions from our USBC events for the calendar year. Just tell us about this photo, this experience, and then we'll get going for the day. But again, decades ago, based on the hair, but Mike Rose was a celebrity for one more day.
I know. I love the Clash of Champions. I've got a funny story for the Clash that you love this one. So the Clash of Champions was a great experience. I love going out and seeing all the guys, and I know everybody because I bowled with Pete on tour and stuff like that. And I think Tommy Baker was on that show, Liz Johnson, Timmy Pfeiffer, who has been a team member. So Dan, I think Dan Vick might even have been out there for that one, who's a watch guy. He might have been on that one or another show, but I had such a great time doing it. But my favorite story for that one is they had professional makeup artists doing hair and makeup. So we're in the back and we're doing our hair and makeup and stuff. And these guys are fantastic. I mean, these guys are true professionals. They've done TV shows, done movies, and they're doing my makeup and hair. Even after I'm done bowling and I come off, they're standing there and they're like, Mike, you looked the best up there. You were so wonderful. And they're still patting me down and they're fixing my hair and doing my makeup. And I'm not even on TV anymore. I'm done. And I'm like, thank you guys so much. You guys were so wonderful. It was such a great experience. So like a week later, Liz Johnson calls me up and she said she had been talking to Lucy. And they said, did you go to the website that the gentleman that did our hair and makeup told us to go to? And I said, no, I haven't gone yet. And they said, well, they have pictures of us up there and all the hair and makeup they did because they normally do that for all the shows they do. And I go, oh, really? They go, yeah, they had a picture of every girl that was on the show. And then you were the only picture of all the guys. They had you in every single picture and none of the other guys on there. I'm like, wow, okay, well, okay, yeah, that's great. I think I can handle that.
Well, this actually does now explain a lot who that extra person is with Team NABR every year at the Open Championships. Now you have your own hair and makeup person. Totally makes sense.
Yeah, it would be great.
Well, and you never know when you get your picture taken, you want to look your best. Hopefully we'll have that opportunity. I know Scotty mentioned you guys are coming to the OC in 2020, and we look forward to having you guys there. We're going to wrap things up today. Hopefully we'll make some more memories and have some great stories to share along the way. And folks at home, we want to thank you for tuning in for this edition of Inside the OC as well. Always a good time. Some great comments and questions along the way. Remember to check out the Bowl TV schedule for all the other great content and shows from the other folks, Emil Williams Jr., Aaron Smith, Curtis Von Kruger, Daniel Ferris. Everybody, we do appreciate all the support here on Bowl TV. Mike Rose, thank you for joining us today. Thanks to Scott Pohl as well for dropping in. And we'll catch you next week, next Thursday, potentially with another fun guest for Inside the OC podcast. My name is Matt Canizaro, folks. That's the news for now. We'll see you on the lane.